Legitimately, the only thing I can say about my November reading month was that NaNoWriMo happened. Salutations! Welcome to Loving the Language of Literacy. My name is Sophia Lee, and today I'm here to do my November 2015 reading wrap-up. So, we might just want to clear the air here right now and say that it is, December 12th. And I have not filmed my November wrap-up yet, and I will not have this video uploaded until the 14th, or maybe even the 18th. You never know. Who says I have to post wrap-ups consistently? That's like a stupid idea. Anyways, the point is that I have not actually been absent from this channel. Obviously, November was a bit lacking in uploads, and December has been a completely satisfying turnaround for myself, mostly because I have been consistently posting every Monday and Friday, and that is my new upload schedule indefinitely. So I'm very excited about that. It gives me a deadline to work with, and it's actually just really relaxing because I can make videos at my own leisure. Then I can just change the settings from unlisted to public whenever I want. On the whole NaNoWriMo note, I wrote 52,000 words for my novel. It is definitely not finished as an actual novel, but I did get the words down, and I am planning on finishing the rest of it by March-ish of 2016. In terms of other things going on in my life, the past entire week has been absolute insanity because I'm the editor-in-chief of my school's literary magazine, and it was absolute crunch time. I stayed until like 5 the first 2 days of this week and then stayed after school consistently, and we finally sent off the proof to the presses, which is very exciting. Then from now until Wednesday, which is like 4 days only, I'm giving this major push to myself because I'm entering a bunch of my poetry and prose and even a creative nonfiction essay to the Scholastic writing competition, and that is very stressful indeed. And then on top of that, on December 27th, I am leaving the United States for 3 months to go live in Oxford, England because of my parents' sabbatical. It's incredible, and it's happening in 15 days, so I better get a move on. I was planning on doing so many more just pre-filming. I know I haven't actually filmed in front of my bookshelf for I think any of the videos you've seen in December, but I completely reorganized the bookshelf and things are just different, and I'm not going to have those books obviously in England. I don't know, I'm hanging on for the ride right now and just figuring out everything as I go. With that said, let us get on to the actual books I read in November. And I am proud to say that even though I wrote 52,000 words every day of November and pretty much stayed up till midnight every day to accomplish those words, I actually read 10 books this month. It's obviously not the highest I've ever done, but I will be talking about that later in my resolutions and goals for the 2016, because I am definitely not shooting for 150 again in 2016 for so many different reasons. The first book I listened to this month was a unbelievable contemporary romance, My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. What I love about contemporary romances is when authors can make it not just about the couple, but make it a fully immersive experience in terms of just relatability and premise and diversity, and bring in different various social issues while still keeping the mood very light and fluffy, but making it so much more. And in this particular novel, it follows the poor little rich girl who has been actually kind of spying, looking over to her next door neighbors, the Garretts, her entire life. And then one day she actually meets one of the, I think, how many, 6, 7 Garrett children named Jace, and her entire world changes. And her mom is this very rich, prim white woman who is running for, I think, state senator, and that is a whole catalyst for the story. So I stopped filming to get myself some cake. I'm very proud of my life decisions. Anyways, moving on, the next book I read this month was The Impossible Knife of Memory by Laurie Halse Anderson. I started it in October, and it took me way too long. I wasn't actually prepared for nothing was happening, and the main character spent the majority of the book just moping about her life, and then guilt-tripping herself whenever anything slightly good happened. You know, you understand where the characters are coming from, but you don't care because you don't care about them because of it. This follows a girl who has been moving across country until her dad finally finds this place to settle down, and her dad is suffering from a serious case of PTSD. Most days he's drowned in the bottle, he can't hold down a job, and this impacts her so much because she feels like she needs to chain herself down to her dad. She takes it completely upon herself. her grades are dropping, she doesn't see herself having much of a future at all. And then she meets this boy named Finn, and he changes things around for her, but again, not so much. And she just guilt trips herself by saying that she doesn't deserve his love and his affection and anyone actually caring for her because of her situation, and she thinks it's just too dangerous because she needs to take care of her father. The next book I listened to was Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Everything is just so quirky. For example, Silver Linings Playbook deals with 2 protagonists who have mental illnesses. I'm not sure if it was ever named exactly, but it's obviously some sort of autism / Asperger's. He's just gotten out of a correctional facility, and he thinks that only a few months have passed, and really it's been around 4 years. His wife left him, and he's doing everything in his life getting fit, being a better person just for his former wife, Nikki. And then he meets this woman named Tiffany, who is very different from how normal people perceive others, as well as just in her head and her way of thinking. She really wants him to be her dance partner for this competition. I'm dying to watch the movie now. I've heard it's very different, but both equally good. It was, I'm guessing, mostly accurate to how people with mental illnesses developmentally think. It's a very immersive, intense story that I loved, especially with the ending, because no matter how much you are different from other people and no matter how much you may be delayed or impaired, you still have a very solid recognition of the truth and what things mean and how they mean for different people, and just a very strong sense of self. The next book I read was a really quick read, and that was This May Sound Crazy by Abigail Breslin, which is her memoir. And I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I'm not saying the writing book is easy, but with the way that she did it and the way she presented her own life, it was completely in text / chat speak. There were emojis all over the place. She talked about some things, but it wasn't even to the point where it was lifestyle as a teenager and being like, oh, this is how I deal with relationships and breakups and heartaches and setbacks. And especially because of her illustrious career throughout her entire life, being a child actor and just having all these experiences, she could have touched up on that. Instead, she really doesn't mention it at all. It just goes on and on about like this guy. It wasn't fulfilling, and it definitely wasn't what I thought I was in for when I read it. Then I listened to the audiobook for Landline by Rainbow Rowell. I gave it 4.75 out of 5 stars, and I loved it so much. I don't know why I ever had a problem with Rainbow Rowell's writing. Landline was an adult novel, actually, and a lot of you have heard the premise, obviously. It's about this woman who doesn't go with her husband and her kids to celebrate with their family for Christmas, and instead stays behind to work in LA as a screenplay comedy writer. And she finds this magical landline in her childhood home that links her to her husband 20 years in the past, and she reconnects with him and basically just fixes their marriage and comes to a lot of revelations about their relationship. It gives us this view of this woman who has this career and has kids and a husband and is still trying to figure out who she is and being content. So in a lot of ways it's a lot like a YA novel, but at the same time it has very different aspects and very different problems as well, and that's what I really enjoyed. Plus just the emotion and the love between her and Neil was so palpable. The next book I listened to was a memoir, and it was Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I remember seeing the trailers for it earlier this year featuring Reese Witherspoon as the main character, and it's basically about this woman who doesn't know where she's going in her life. She's basically broke. She's been having a lot of sex with people, a lot of drugs, alcohol overdoses, has been recently divorced with her husband, and is trying to find herself on the Pacific Crest Trail, which is this long trail from, I believe, California to, what the heck is the state above Oregon? Washington. And while I wasn't exactly engaged for a lot of it, and there was flip-flopping between her life on the trail as well as just her life before, I was very interested, and I loved how she talked us through everything. She started off with doing only a few miles and then being able to do 20 mile days, and she had setbacks. It was just such a wonderful portrayal of how you can have your entire life fall apart and not knowing what the heck is happening, and then be the happiest you've ever been by just being out in nature and just being stuck with yourself. The next book I read was a entire English class read, and I didn't like it whatsoever. I gave it, I think, 1 out of 5 stars. Or 2 out of 5 stars. And that is I Am the Cheese by Robert Cormier. Go into it not knowing anything. It's supposedly a suspenseful thriller novel. It was published in the 1980s. It's not current. It's not important, really, to modern teenagers, modern adolescents, and the reasons it was banned and disliked by people is totally just inaccurate. Coming from a writer's point of view and perspective, I loved the scope of it, and I loved the multi-perspectives. It had a first-person narration, third-person narration, and the rest of it in this exchange of tapes between these two characters. You find out more and more throughout the entire story, and all these little bits and pieces of the puzzle and just minor details come together completely. It's a whole circular story, and it was very interesting to read analytically, but I would definitely not pick it up on my own time, and I don't think I'll be reading any of his other books. The next book I listened to is one that I have a book talk on, and that is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I gave it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. It follows this mixed-race family in 1970s America. The favorite middle child and basically the anchor of the entire family, Lydia, has been found dead in the lake, and the entire story is told in multi-perspectives, flip-flopping timelines, and it just follows every single member of the family. They all get their parts of the story to tell. Everything fell apart because of her death, but everything also came back together, and that's what I truly loved. The next book I listened to was completely unexpected, and I just saw on a whim on Overdrive as available, and I was like, hey, I just saw Emma Books do a review for it, why not? And that is A Binge by Tyler Oakley, 4 out of 5 stars. I haven't actually watched much of Tyler Oakley's videos, and just never saw his type of humor and branding as appealing to me. But then listening to his memoir was such a great experience because he narrated it. It was so raw and honest and funny, and we heard all these different just truths about him, and he didn't sugarcoat things in the very slightest. He was just so at home with himself and who he is and just what he is doing for the world and with his life. The last book was actually one that I physically read, and I got it at the Barnes & Noble Black Friday sale signed, and that was The Sword of Summer, which is book 1 in the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard series by Rick Riordan. This is following a boy named Magnus Chase, who is Annabeth Chase's cousin. He's a homeless kid in Boston and is one day told that he is actually the son of a Norse god. Not telling you which Norse god because that kind of spoils a lot. He's told this, he's been attacked, he actually dies like the second chapter in the novel, and he goes on this wild adventure. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It seemed so been there, done that. We've had the wonderful magic of Percy Jackson and the entire world and concept of the Greek gods. And even with the Kane Chronicles, we were able to separate the two. I didn't like the Kane Chronicles that much, but that wasn't because I was comparing it to Percy Jackson. With this, the scenario, the protagonist, everything about Magnus Chase is so similar to Percy, while still not being Percy. He doesn't have the wit to him, but again, it is a very educational for learning at Norse mythology and for the whole incoming wave of middle grade readers. I would love to just say, here, have the time of your life with this wonderful book. Tell me in the comments below what your favorite and your least favorite books were this month. How many books you need to read to finish your TBR for the month of December, because we all know I'm nowhere near 150. I'm not gonna get to 150, and we're just gonna have to accept that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Keep calm, read on, and I'll see you video soon. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this video and like to see more, like it, give it a big thumbs up. Leave me a comment below. If you liked it even more, hit the subscribe button. All my social media is on my face at SSL's Books. My previous videos are below me.